Hello there YouTube, welcome to my channel today. I'm going to teach you how to improve laptop thermals. So as you guys may already know, I use my laptop for casual gaming, work, and study. But right before I even start this video, I'm going to let you guys know that down in the video description, you're going to be able to find timestamps for those of you guys that just want to skip to certain parts of the video. But let's continue. I really enjoy laptops because it allows for a lot of convenience. For starters, you can bring your laptop anywhere or move around. So if you have a busy life like me, you're going to be able to move around and be able to play your games from time to time. Just this morning, I was able to take my car to the shop and I was able to bring my laptop and play a couple of games and finish some schoolwork while my car was getting worked. So before I even get started, I'm going to let you guys know that there was a 2020 BIOS update from Windows and Intel that prevents you from changing your CPU voltage. This is really important because if that is the case for you and you're going to find out getting closer to the end, you may want to roll back your BIOS update or look into if there's another update for your BIOS that has fixed that the CPU voltage editor, or if there is a way for you to roll back your your BIOS. But anyway, let's continue. I think the easiest way to simply lower down your thermals is by simply getting yourself a thermal pad for your laptop. This will help your thermals drop by almost 5 degrees Celsius, which can make a big difference. It's also really important because if, let's say, you are working on the couch or on your bed, having that thermal pad is going to allow you to put it on your lap and not burn yourself. So having a thermal pad is really important. You can either go to your local computer shop like Best Buy, Walmart, and ask them if they have any laptop cooling pads. If not, simply go to Amazon.com and look up laptop cooling pads. So for those of you that are skeptical about CPU undervolting, that's understandable. CPU undervolting is simply finding the lowest voltage for your CPU that it can run without giving up too much power. Most CPU manufacturers don't undervolt your CPU due to the fact of the CPU lottery theory, which states that CPUs are unique and some may run on higher voltages than others, and some might even run at a lower voltage, but they all guarantee to reach a certain speed when set to 0. So what we want is to lower our CPU voltage and reach the speeds the manufacturer claims it does. By lowering the CPU voltage, it means the CPU runs and uses less thermals, reducing the heat consumption, while at the same time giving you the promised performance. The same idea goes for overclocking, but the opposite. More power, the higher voltage consumption. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's go over the biggest thermal helper of them all, throttle stop. So as you guys can see, I'm going to start by running Monster Hunter without using throttle stop, and you're going to see how the temperatures are going to reach ridiculously high temperatures of up to 90 degrees Celsius. First, I'm going to do a quick run without the thermal pad, then I'm going to tell you when I turn on the thermal pad, and then I'm going to show you what throttle stop actually does and the temperatures that we achieve using our thermal pad as well. Okay, so let me just start up Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is a very intensive game. It eats up a lot of resources. So I'm starting up Monster Hunter, and I'm also going to start up HW Monitor, which is a tool that I use personally to manage my temperatures and check not only my temperature for my CPU, but also my GPU temperatures and my SSD temperatures. So right now, you can see that the voltage hasn't been changed. It's set at 0. We're already running at high, up to 97 degrees Celsius, and we haven't even started playing the game yet. So let's just start up the game. I'm going to create a game real quick, just so you can see what temperatures we're reaching without a thermal pad and without throttle stop. So right now, just running the game, we're running at a solid 97, 95, 94 is what it's bouncing around. Our mins so far has been 84 with a high of 97, and this is without even playing a game yet. So let's just I'm going to show you quick what happens when I decide to play a quick game, and I'm going to tell you when I turn on my decide to turn on the thermal pad. So we're just going to post a new game. We're going to kill like Great Jagged real quick. See. Sure. It's just a little quick test. As you can see, we're already reaching 96, 95 over here with a high of 96, 99 degrees Celsius. And that's without even playing a game. So we're going to see what the difference is when I decide to turn on the thermal pad. So right now I'm going to turn it on and we're going to see a little difference. So I'm going to clear this, and I just turned it on, by the way. So as you can see, right before the game jumped, it jumped up to 100 degrees Celsius. With the thermal pad, we're looking at roughly 5 degrees Celsius lower than what it was hidden without the thermal pad. So right now we're looking at roughly 90, 95, 89, 97. Have in mind that the game right now is playing. So let's see what happens when we decide to turn on throttle stop. So let's see. I'm just gonna slash a monster real quick. 97. Alright, so let's turn on throttle stop and let's see the difference. Right here. Throttle stop. As soon as it starts up, we're hitting our mins. We're going to reset it just so you can see what our temperatures are. Soon as we start up throttle stop, we see a significant decrease of almost 25 degrees Celsius. So, as you can see, as you saw before, we were already hitting temperatures of 97, 96, 97, almost 100 degrees Celsius, and that's with the thermal pad. And with the thermal pad and throttle stop running at the same time, we're hitting 76 degrees Celsius. As you saw in the video before, Monster Hunter is a very intensive game, hitting thermal temperatures of 90 degrees Celsius without throttle stop. The moment we turn on throttle stop, you saw that it dropped 25 degrees Celsius, reaching a maximum of 76 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to show you what I personally do in order to achieve speeds like that. So number one thing that I do is that I go inside each profile, so performance, game, battery, and internet, and I disable turbo in every single profile. Then from there, I go to Fiverr, and this is where you're going to see the difference. So if you did have that BIOS update where it locked your CPU voltage, you're not going to be able to edit this at all. But if you don't have that update, you're going to be able to click this box and mess around with your offset voltage. So the ones you want to mainly focus on is your Intel GPU, your Intel's GPU, and your CPU core. You don't necessarily want to mess with your CPU cache, your system agent, and iGPU unslice. It's just these two you're going to be setting up. So what I recommend is I usually pick the game profile and just leave all the turbo ratio limits to what it usually is. And I play around with this. So you start off with 125 and you try to see if it works like that. And then you go inside and you do the same thing. Then from there, you're going to hit apply and continue, and you're going to see if it works for your computer. So you're going to play around a little bit. If it crashes, it's going to reset back to 0, and you're going to know that you can't put it up to negative 125. You're going to have to play around with a different value. If for some reason it doesn't crash, continue on and go to 250 and hit 250 and play around. Try to see what's the highest voltage you can do. So I started off with 150. I started off with 140 and then worked my way up. 140 worked, but for some reason 167 didn't work. So I just kept going down until I found that sweet middle spot. And I found that 150.4 works best for me. So once you do that, you're able to go to every single profile and set it up for that. So system unlock 150.4. Do the same thing, Intel GPU, unlock adjustment value, 150.4. You do it for performance, game, internet, and battery. The benefit of being able to use throttle stop is that it also allows you to limit your turbo ratios. So what I decided to do is when I'm running on battery, I decided that it only needs to run at 3.6 gigahertz. Because if I'm running on the battery, I want the best battery life, and I don't want my CPU to necessarily have too much to work with. So you can set it up like that too. Some people don't recommend it. I do it just because I can, but you don't. You can just leave it the way it is. That way, if you do click on a profile, um, that way if you do, you can just leave it at like that. As long as you edit your CPU core and your Intel GPU core for all of them, that way if you do by any chance accidentally start off on this profile or this profile, it's all the same across the board. Um, but I personally like to edit my turbo ratios when it comes to my battery and my internet consumption because I'm not necessarily using too much power. For gaming performance, I have the same thing for both profiles. But yeah, that's throttle stop, and I definitely recommend if you're able to use it for your computer. Not only does it improve speeds when you're playing games, but it also helps improve your your speeds and your thermal performance when you're just running, let's say, programs, when you're running virtual machines, when you're pretty much doing anything. One of the things that I find most annoying is when I start hearing those fan noises. So that's one way that you can actually reduce your fan noise. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Give a like, subscribe, do whatever you gotta do. Leave a comment on what I did good, what I need to improve on, and I hope to see you guys next time in my next video.